This is Scott Patterson, Agent Peter Strum from the Saw franchise, and you're listening to Don't Go Out There Horror Movie Review Podcast. And oh yes, there will be blood. Was that good? That was like from the 50s.
Shut up! It's too fucking hot in here for me to listen to this bullshit.
In a world where zombies, ghosts, serial killers, and vampires all exist, it's Nico, Brian, Mike, and Dustin, and they are all that stand between you and the films that could end the world. Welcome to the Don't Go Out There Horror Movie Podcast.
Welcome back, everybody, to the Don't Go Out There Horror Movie Review Podcast. Just want to thank all our fans and listeners. I really appreciate all the support. Before we get into tonight's film review, I just want to give a quick shout out to our website, don'tgoouthere.com. Everything about our podcast is on our website. Brian's done a fantastic job with it. All of our episodes and interviews from episode 1 to each new release is on there. Definitely check out the website, especially if you want to check our interviews. We've done some incredible interviews in the past, and it's a lot easier to find them on our website. Definitely check that out. We've got our blog called Under the Mask. We've all wrote some think pieces. Definitely check those out. We got a store. We've got some new T-shirts out. They're awesome. From the mastermind of Dustin Franklin, some Sony PlayStation cover shirts. They're awesome, designed by Mastermind Brian. They look amazing. Check those out. And we also have Shan's Etsy page attached. If you want to grab a tumbler, they're on sale. Well, by the time you listen to it, they won't be, so sorry. But definitely check out those tumblers. They're awesome. And last but not least, I'm going to shout out all of our social medias, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, YouTube, and TikTok. Social media-driven world, and we're on all of them. We love interacting with our fans. It truly means the world to us that we get to interact with people all over the world who love our podcast. It's amazing to think about that. So definitely follow us, like us, subscribe us, all that good stuff. And I'm going to shout out our Patreon we call Blood Donors. We have the traditional monthly reoccurring kind. It helps us out a lot, takes a big burden off of us, and we fully acknowledge that the economy is bad right now. Times are tough. But we just want to say we truly thank you for all your support. And we also have one-time donations available as well. Let's say you have a movie that you love and you want us to review it, definitely check out our website for that. Tonight is our second entry in what we call 31 month. The past 2 years for our podcast, we've near the end of October for Halloween, we rank, certain franchises that have 31 total movies. So we decided this year that we would go ahead and review some movies from those franchises. And tonight is Brother Mike's pick. Go ahead.
Yeah, man. So I'm a big fan of the Saw franchise, as is everyone else on this show, I think, anyway. Especially Nico. And when everyone else was kind of making their pick, I was like, well, we've done a lot of Saw, but there's some Saws we haven't done. And there's some more Saws that I think we're going to get to. But I really found the online divisiveness of the film we're reviewing tonight really interesting. And I didn't know that we had that same divisiveness on this show until I picked the movie and everyone watched it. So this should be an interesting episode. I picked Spiral from the Book of Saw. This is one of the newest movies we've done. It's not the newest because we've done Halloween Kills and stuff like that. But it's one of the
newer movies. Brian picked Army of the Dead.
Oh, he did. Army of the Dead. Brian picked it. Great film. Great film. Anyway, I wanted to do something a little newer, but this movie shook up the Saw fan base. There really is no in between that I've seen online. You either really like Chris Rock and everyone's take on it, or you really hate it. And I think it's really funny that on our own show we have that same dividing line, and I'm excited to talk about it.
So this is how we're going to start already. Like we just started, and we're bullying already. The Army of Dead thing.
Dustin's the bully on this show.
Blacked out. I don't know what happened.
All right, I'll go next real quick. Haven't watched this movie since I saw it in theaters when me and Mike did our reaction show. So I've just recently rewatched the movie, and I got to admit, I'm in the fan base that's not really a big fan of this movie, really at all. Is it more rewatchable than a lot of previous films we've done? Yes, absolutely. I would watch this over good chunk of movies that we've done, honestly, but that doesn't mean that this is a good movie. I'll touch on a lot of it when we get to our rating, but my biggest problem is the dialogue, honestly, I think is pretty god-awful. Chris Rock, you should have just kept your input out when it came to the jokes, honestly, in my opinion. I like the kills. The traps, they're better than previous installments, like 3D. I'm not a big fan of those. But I really think a lot of the traps are impractical considering this one guy is doing them all. He doesn't own these warehouses, industrial buildings like Jigsaw did. Really don't understand how he got this wax trap installed in the fucking precinct. So it just stuff like that bothers me, and I'll touch on more stuff, but I try not to be, like Guy Busick, friend of the show, talked about toxic fandom in his new Scream 22 movie, but that's just my honest feelings. I'm a diehard Saw fan, but this one, and I think Dustin will touch on it, just doesn't feel like a Saw movie, and I just really can't take it too seriously with the terrible dialogue. Brian, you want to go next?
Yeah, so when this was released, I really had high hopes for it. I mean, you had Darren Bozeman, who did Saw 4, 3, and my personal favorite. I think Mike mentioned it was his personal favorite too, as well, Saw 2, coming back and he to direct it. I personally really like Chris Rock, and I was very interested, to say the least, in this movie. I like this installment. I'll just go ahead and get it out there, but I don't really have the emotional tie to the rest of the series like most of my co-hosts do, like Mike just mentioned. And I don't want to spoil my 31 on 31, but I do like this one more than some of the Hoffman ones. I think I need to rewatch, the end of the Saw series, like the last few movies, because like I said, I haven't gotten the rewatch a lot of my co-hosts have. But what I appreciated with this is what a lot of Die fans probably hate about it, and it's the fact that it tries to do something different. Like, it's more of a spinoff than a sequel, for sure. It's definitely a reboot. I literally almost picked this last month. And it distances itself, at least some, from all of the previous installments. So I've said this before, I love police dramas, so I appreciated that they try to do more investigative, Lethal Weapon 7 type of approaches. Funny, since Chris Rock was in Lethal Weapon 4. But I can see this as like I can see where a diehard Saw fan, where you'd balk at it a little bit. I think the traps are fine, but again, the focus is more on the investigation, so it doesn't really feel like a Saw movie. And I love the Saw series, don't get me wrong, but I also think I'm not, like I said, as diehard as some of my co-hosts are. So Jeremy Johns made a comment that I think fits this pretty perfectly, and that's that it wants to be a Saw movie, but it also wants to be a 7 movie, and it doesn't really commit to either enough. So it kind of feels off some. I paraphrased some there, but I can definitely understand that. But that's also part of why I personally liked it, respectfully. Go ahead.
Yeah, I'm not a fan. So this franchise, Saw franchise, Friday the 13th franchise, and hell, I'll even put Scream up there. Like, that's my favorite franchises. So when you do something and you add to it, you better add to it, not subtract from it. And that's what I think this one did. Now, I will say it's called Spiral from the book of Saw. It's not a true sequel. I liken it to, Chris Rock. He is Joseph Smith, because if Saw 1 through 7, or hell, I'll even say Jigsaw is if it's one continuous story and it's the Bible, then this movie is the Book of Mormon. I don't count it because I'm not Mormon, but it's just like Nico said, man. The dialogue is bad now, but also like Nico said, I agree. As far as rewatchability goes, it's much more rewatchable than, let's say, Tourist Trap or House of Wax, no offense, or Army of the Dead, no offense, or Cloverfield, no offense. But that doesn't mean I'm going to seek it out. If it's on and I was flip through the channels, I might not turn it off, but I'm not going to seek it out. It's just it Saw doesn't have comedic undertones. Like there's not jokes being cracked. There's not bullshit small talk. There's not. We'll get into it in the scene by scene, but it just doesn't fit in the recipe for Saw to me. It's like you're making a blueberry cobbler and someone's like, "Hey, throw this in." What is that? Oh, it's a tomato. What? So I'm not a fan of it. It's not the worst thing I've ever seen. And honestly, if it weren't a Saw movie, if this was just a movie about a guy doing these things to people and then he's getting caught, then honestly, that'd probably add a whole 1.5 to 2 points on my score for the movie. But I can't detach myself from thinking this is supposed to be a Saw movie. It just doesn't work for me. Go ahead.
And that's 100%. I was going to ask if this wasn't a Saw movie, if you guys would like it more. And I think I'm glad you said that. So that answers my question.
Can I touch on that real quick before you go, Mike?
Yeah, sure, of course.
Would I like it more? Maybe, but then I would also kind of feel like, damn, this is just trying to be a Saw movie. you know,
So I mean, what do
you know
you
what I'm saying?
Yeah, it's kind of damned if you do, damned if you don't. I understand.
But I mean,
Yeah.
Friday the 13th did it and it worked. But I mean, I would just be like, it doesn't have Jigsaw. It doesn't feel original at this point. But
Well,
I don't know.
I think to my point, then you take out. You don't do it exactly like this. You don't. I wouldn't do the video playing the you've done this, so you got to do this, and here's how you get out. Eliminate that. Eliminate the Mr. Snuggles or whatever the hell they named the puppet, and then just make it a movie like, because then it becomes more of, are they trying to copy Seven or Saw? Because he's punishing people for, and so in that point you can forgive it if you eliminate some of the things that make it obviously a Saw spinoff.
Yeah, and get rid of like the spiral on the wall.
Yeah.
You could fix it with that.
Yeah, and see that, and that's exactly why I think that we're divided. I think that we probably have the same outlook on the movie, but you don't like it because of that. And at least I don't know, I can't speak for Mike, but at least I like it because of that.
Yeah.
So.
And that's what I was about to touch on. For all the reasons, and it's not that I don't even agree with you guys, but those are the things that make me like the movie a little more. So I'm kind of on the same page as Brian, where the focus on the police stuff makes me like it a little more. And look, I love the whole Saw franchise, honestly. Like, even, me and Dustin had Jigsaw ranked higher than anyone else that I've seen or watched or heard from. Like, we like that movie. So, like, again, we like this franchise a lot. And I just appreciated a little bit of a different take. There's less traps, like, as far as the focus on the games. There's no trap subplot. All the traps are interwoven into the cop plot. And yeah, that gets away from the Saw base, but there's a part of me that likes it for that. And all the stuff you guys kind of crapped on, I get it, but I guess I just had a different feeling. I actually like Chris Rock here. I think it works, and I don't really know why. I don't have a good reason, maybe because I just like Chris Rock. But I think some of the bad dialogue you guys talked about, again, I get it, but I enjoyed it. Like, I don't know. It was just a different take. Some of the stuff I found funny that others didn't. Totally understand. Not saying there's nothing that's cringe.
I'm not saying I didn't find it funny. Some of it did like it, but for a Saw movie. So
Right.
when I would send the smart ass things in the group text, like quotes from the movie, and I was being sarcastic. If this wasn't a Saw movie, I would get a chuckle out of it. That's fair. So that's I do like Chris Rock as well. So I'm not shitting on him. So
of course, and again, that's totally fair. I actually like the cast as far as everyone else around them. I know a lot of other people don't, but I think Samuel Jackson, the small part that he's in, I just like Sam Jackson. And anytime that man says "fuck," I'm in. It doesn't matter what the movie is. A motherfucker. Anytime he says that, I'm in. It really doesn't matter what movie it is. But again, I like the core cast, and I think the story works. Here's what I'll say, and this could be. I don't think I'm alone in feeling this way. Part of me doesn't even want to put this in the franchise, just because it is like it's like taking the show Friends and then giving Joey his own show. Like, it's not Friends. It has a character from Friends, but it's not Friends. It's the Joey show that probably sucked. I never watched it. But this kind of feels like in that same vein to me, where, okay, we have these established characters like John Kramer. We acknowledge that he exists within this universe, but this is a whole new thing. This is not that. Someone is copying him, and I understand you have to tie it back into the franchise. But I actually thought, now I'm not saying some of the traps aren't illogical, Nico, but I actually thought some of the traps were too simplistic, and to me that made sense. Now, not all of them, but the one in the subway you could easily set up, without being an engineer like Kramer and all that. Like, you could set some of these up without being the smartest guy in the world that knows how to build shit. So I did now the wax one, I can't explain that away, but everything else, kind of made sense to me. Like, there were a little more simple traps, and I know you guys disagreed, but I like this new voice. It's kind of creepy, a little disturbing. I don't mind the pig puppet. I get what it's trying to say. And also, one more thing, and Dead Meat talked about that. This movie kind of talks about police corruption. This movie was made before all that kind of really blew up. And so it wasn't trying to cash in on something that, happened in the real world. All this dialogue and all this script was written before the summer of 2020. So like all of that kind of.
But to be fair, Mike, it was trying to cash in on
yes.
Saw being the Saw movie because
Yes.
it's not really. You know what I'm saying? So
right. For sure.
Use Joey and the Friends reference. I would almost say this is like not even any of the main cast. It would be like just some guy that was on one episode going off and doing a spinoff.
Yeah.
Like, because it's just not even close to it. And that's why I like it, because they're doing something different.
Right. And I, that just kind of sums up my feelings on it. Like, I agree with you where it's not the perfect movie. There's some parts of this movie that get a little boring, but there's a lot here that I really like. And I actually like the ending. I know a lot of people said it was predictable. Predictable isn't always bad if it's executed right. And I thought that it was. So again, excited to talk about it. We've already had a little discourse here, but friendly discourse, which is good. I don't want to get into Stephen A. Smith and Skip territory. Skip. Oh, that's Shannon. Never mind. Skip.
All right. I just got one more opening thought before we jump into it, and we'll move on after this, unless y'all got something to say as well. But I just want to say you all have touched on it, and I just want to stress it as well. I truly, honestly do appreciate Chris Rock being a big fan of the franchise and wanting to do something. I appreciate Samuel L. Jackson, a huge name in acting, being in the movie. I appreciate Darren Lynn Bousman coming back to direct, Charlie Clouser coming back to do music, several effects guys. Like, as the Saw fan in me, I appreciate these big names in Hollywood who are fans and want to be in the movie. And I appreciate all of the previous alumni from the staff coming back to make this movie. So I just want to give them props just for the fact that they did this movie, because maybe not to them, but to a lot of fans, this is kind of a big risk to make a movie that's in the book of a huge franchise. This is one of the highest grossing horror franchises of all time. So, they took a big chance at it. I appreciate they did. And I'll just give them credit for that, even if I'm not a huge fan of the product.
Hey, Nico, I'm glad you said that because, I read up a bunch of stuff and I watched some behind the scenes stuff. They kind of went through all the blue and green lighting and stuff that's in the normal Saw franchise, but they set out to do something a little different where they shot more stuff in the daytime and all of these things. And I felt like they tried to set it apart from the movies they made in the past. So again, like you said, big risk that I give them credit for, because they were part of those Saw movies and they set out to do something that was within the same vein, but a little bit different. I almost liken it to, and Brian's going to disagree, or maybe everyone does, but it's almost kind of like what Halloween was trying to do with 3. They didn't land it, but it's almost like what they were trying to do a little bit, where we're in this same universe, but we have a completely different story. Now, it's not exactly the same because they mentioned John Kramer, but if you know Halloween 3, Halloween's playing on the TV. It's all I'm saying. That movie sucks. Don't give me that smirk. I didn't say I liked the movie.
2-pack of ass.
I didn't say I liked the movie. It's just
I didn't say if I was talking about Halloween 3 or this. So anyway.
All I've ever said is that it was better than Halloween 5, and I will stand by that.
Okay.
Ugh, I don't know about all that. All right, guys, this has been a really good opening discussion. I feel like, honestly, I think the fans will appreciate it. Any more before we just jump into the scene by scene? All right, let's get it, guys.
Let's do it. Let's go.
All right, the film starts with fireworks in the sky. We see a man rob a woman of her purse and run into the crowd. An officer yells "police" and chases him behind some porta potties, where Detective Boswick climbs down the ladder into the subway tunnel in pursuit. He yells to get your hands in the air, but it's just a mannequin. The disguised pig-faced person appears and chloroforms him. I assume his chloroform could be a different drug. Boswick wakes up in a trap. His hands tied behind his back, and he's standing on a small step stool with his tongue trapped. The TV turns on, and we get a new Jigsaw-style voice. I want to play a game. The train arrives in 2 minutes. Boswick has lied on the court stand. His only chance to live is to step off the ladder and rip his tongue out. He gets his hands free and tries to pull the device off his tongue. The subway swiftly approaches, and Boswick begins to panic. He steps off the ladder finally, but it's too late as he's hit by the subway train, and his blood splatters all over the front window. Title card. Zeke is talking to some other guys about how great Forrest Gump is, and names off all the things he accomplished. The other guys look at him crazy. The elevator dings, and a man says Rico just got off the elevator. Zeke and his men mask up and break into Rico's room and rob him and attack him. They exit the room and go down the exit stairs. They remove their ski mask and their clothes. They get into a car and go to leave as other cops have the place surrounded. They realize it's Zeke. Chief Garza is bitching Zeke about going undercover without clearance. Zeke says he has no backup because he doesn't trust anyone on the force. Garza says he's getting a partner and going to learn to be a team player. He says he's not babysitting no rookie. She says just because his dad was chief of police doesn't get him out of it. William Schenck walks in and she partners him up with Zeke. Zeke walks out without shaking his hand. Zeke goes to his desk where someone put a dead rat on it. Schenck asks how he likes his coffee, and Zeke says he likes it alone. Schenck says he gets it. He wouldn't want to be partnered with some kid. You don't want to be my partner, he tells him. You don't know that, Schenck says. Your dad, Marcus, is the reason I'm here, why he wants to do this in the first place. Garza sends them to go check out a homeless guy who was hit by the 3 train. The 2 men walk to Zeke's car and head to the train. Schenck shows Zeke his family picture. They talk about wives and women and how they're bound to be angry at being cops' wives. The 2 men walk into the subway and Zeke talks about him going through a divorce and other bad cop statistics. Zeke reveals his wife fucked their counselor. They continue to talk about when women cheat as they head to the crime scene. They make it there and see a completely destroyed corpse. Zeke tells him not to puke on the evidence. Zeke is wowed at the gore. Schenck says this bum will be hard to identify, but Zeke points out he's not a bum. He's married and has a Fitbit. Back to the station, and an officer brings Zeke a package. He opens it up, and it's a USB flash drive that says, "Play me." We see the spiral and hear a voiceover saying they want to reform Metro Police to remind them of their oath. They're told one officer chose not to be reformed, and he won't be the last. Detective Fitch says that's Jigsaw. They realize the spiral is at the courthouse. They head down there and find the spiral. They also find another package hidden in the window bars. It's Boswick's tongue and badge. All right, Brian, that's the opening set of scenes I got. What'd you think?
Hey, first off, Dustin, was it just me or did Detective Boswick in this opening scene look like Knox from Batman 1989?
Yes, he did, but I recognize him from something
I've
else.
seen that movie.
That's hey, look at that.
Hey-o.
That is funny because he definitely did, but I know him as McMurray from the show Letterkenny on Hulu, which you should all watch if you haven't
Let's
seen
say
it.
Letterkenny.
Fucking
Yeah, man.
hilarious. But yeah, that's
I haven't
McMurray.
seen that. Sorry, fellas, my nerd came out of me early tonight.
Oh, I like it.
Anyway, a little tidbit about these opening scenes here at the fairgrounds. Even though every time that anyone is at a carnival in a movie, it feels like the Lost Boys to me. But they were actually filmed at a fairground in Toronto, where they actually thought they had permission but did not. So Bozeman and company got kicked out but managed to steal the shots anyway. So that's a cool little tidbit, especially if you watch that knowing that they had to be basically undercover while they were filming this stuff. It's actually pretty obvious. But right off the bat, we get a new Jigsaw type voice. Mike touched on it. I like it. Bozeman and Rock wanted it to sound distinctively different than Kramer, which again, I'm good with. This motivation, which we find out at the end, changes from Kramer's, and I'm very good with it too. It's what a reboot should be, in my opinion. I mean, you respect the past, reference the past, but you forge your own path. And again, I like that. So as far as this opening trap goes, it was apparently written to have like fish hooks piercing his tongue, but Bozeman said he was a firm believer in having traps that would physically work the way that they were suggesting, and he said fish hooks would have simply sharded the tongue, so he changed it to a vice. This trap definitely feels winnable, but would you want to live without your tongue? I mean, I don't know, man. Like, plus it ripped out a lot more than just his tongue. I don't know if I could rip it out myself. I think that I would have just taken the train. Get it? Because you ride the train. Okay, never mind. Anyway, great effects on the kill. I thought you could tell the low budget CG on some of it, but the way it was cut, it was hidden some. So I still liked it. Chris Rock's Forrest Gump dialogue I thought was funny and amazing. I really liked the exchange between him and Max in the car. Honestly, this feels organic to his character in Lethal Weapon 4. So maybe this is the Chris Rock we get in Lethal Weapon 5. I don't know. Don't make that, please. But when he said counseling, that's nice. My wife fucked the counselor. You can ride a lot of dick before dusk. I don't know. That cracked me up. Jesus. Anyway, shout out to Marcel Nichols, who two-time DGOT veteran, was Donnie in Scream 2, and something else I didn't know until doing research for this was freaking Audrey Griswold in Vegas Vacation. It's crazy. She was also Kelly on Boy Meets World too, but I don't know who watched that show around here. I mean,
couldn't imagine.
Relax, pal.
Again, I love this group of scenes and the character development because it feels more like a buddy cop movie than a Saw movie. And like I said, I'm all for that. Go ahead, Mike.
Hold on real quick. All right. Got that going. All right. So again, I like this opening scene. Now, I will say why the undercover cop is dressed like Hannibal Lecter at the end of Silence of the Lambs. I can't really figure out why he's dressed like that, but okay, he looks like a guy that's on vacation in Florida, but whatever. I love this subway station kill. Like, I think it's really good. And I've seen some complaints online that the trap isn't super winnable, that none of these traps are super winnable. I think that's kind of the point. Again, we're getting away from the games that Jigsaw, John Kramer, is playing, and we're just getting into someone that's kind of going into vigilante justice here. And so, him targeting cops, he doesn't really want them to have a chance to win. So I kind of am able to compartmentalize that and say, wow, that's just a really cool kill. You said take the train. I always think of that scene in Euro Trip, which I'm sure at least Dustin has seen, the "My baby takes the morning train." Okay, anyway. Great.
I love Euro Trip.
My man. Okay, but yeah, so
Me scusi.
oh, Miss Scusi. Oh, God dang it. Don't get me on a Hero Trip kick. I'll quote that movie all day. All right. But I like this stuff with Chris Rock. I love the Forrest Gump dialogue. And I think it's funny. And for whatever reason, it just works with me. And I completely understand if I'm in that Saw mindset where I've watched every Saw in a row, and now I put this on, and this is the fucking dialogue you give me, I would probably be pretty pissed off.
Yeah.
But when I watch this as a standalone, I just think it's funny. It works. For whatever reason, it clicks with me. I like this character that Chris Rock's playing. He doesn't give a fuck. He's clear, the rest of his force thinks he's a snitch, and he really doesn't care. And he kind of goes into his own business. And I like that he's in there with the drug runners with a mask and everything. I think that's a pretty cool scene. And I like that they kind of give him a partner, and we know what his partner ends up being, but I think it works. I think their chemistry is pretty good. They play off each other like a good buddy cop movie, or at least in my opinion. Some of the jokes, I understand the complaints, but I think the stuff about his wife fucking the counselor and stuff, all that's good. Like, I think that's good. The daytime dick and everything else that goes along with that. Like, I think that's pretty funny stuff. Does it belong in a Saw movie? Well, it depends on if you think this is a Saw movie or not. So that's what I'll say. But again, I like that they've decided to have this version of Jigsaw, this Jigsaw copycat, kind of leave little gifts, for everybody. He gives a box, and he leaves the tongue and the badge and lets you know exactly who's dead. And I like that, and I like this voice, and I know a lot of people don't, but you can't go back and make it Jigsaw John Kramer's voice. That doesn't make sense. He's been dead a long time. He hasn't been in a movie in a long time. And I just kind of feel like doing something different really works for me. And now would I take another movie within the Jigsaw universe? Of course I would. Of course I would take more Tobin Bell. But at the end of the day, I just think this opening set of scenes really, really works for me.
All right. So, yeah, like I said, right off the bat, we get McMurray from Letterkenny. And why the hell, though, is he dressed like he's going to the fucking Kentucky Derby? Like, have you ever been to a carnival and saw someone dressed like that? Anyway, the opening scene, like, it's funny that
this motherfucker was sipping on mint juleps and shit walking down the street.
Yeah, and I mean, that's fine and dandy. He should have done that instead of taking a role in this movie.
Oh, Jesus Christ.
So we get Pig Mask. Pig Mask is back, and instantly I'm down. I'm in. I'm excited. We're back. We got a Saw movie. And then the first trap. Holy shit! It's brutal. It made my mouth water and gave me goosebumps because I was like, oh fuck, this is uncomfortable to watch. And just imagining like your tongue being pulled out of your mouth like that, and that's the only option you get. So here's the thing. I don't mind that it's not Billy and it's a pig. Or symbolic. You got Pig Mask is back, and you got a pig in the videos, but I do hate the voice. I don't think it necessarily has to be John Kramer. I agree that wouldn't make sense, but the voice we got sounded like the fucking Three Little Pigs from Shrek, and I couldn't unhear it once I heard that in my head, and I hated it. So that just irritated the hell out of me. But immediately after the title card, I start to lose my excitement for the movie. Chris Rock is just a little too comedic for a Saw movie. And I'm not saying he doesn't have range, but he wrote the dialogue. He came up with the comedic lines himself, and Saw's not a comedic franchise. Now I get what you're saying if you view this as not a Saw movie, but damn it, they have all the makings of a Saw movie. They have spirals everywhere. They have Saw-based traps. This is like when Dr. John Pemberton invented Coca-Cola in 1886. And in 1893, Pepsi comes along and everybody's like, is that the same thing? Is that the same? No, this is different. It's not Coke. It's different. It's the same shit. It's like, come on, clearly it was an imitation. So the franchise just isn't horror comedy. It's far from it. So, and the robbery scene, yeah, the dialogue was funny, and the Forrest Gump dialogue and the whatever, but it just added nothing. It added absolutely nothing. You could have established the fact that he works alone because he doesn't trust anybody without having this 5-minute scene that we never revisit. It just doesn't matter. I will say though, this movie has a fire-ass soundtrack, probably the best of any movie we'll ever cover, in my opinion, because I like rap, so this is my kind of music. But it doesn't work.
Oh no, that 21 Savage song is fucking great. That's a great song.
But it doesn't work for the score of a Saw movie. Like, it's just, what the fuck are we doing here? Everything about this just doesn't.
I'm holding on that to the end.
It doesn't make sense to me. I don't know. It just doesn't work. I thought we got some pretty bad acting between Zeke and the captain here. No offense to her, she looked amazing, but I don't think she's a very good actress, respectfully, or at least in this role. Maybe it was just because of the shitty dialogue that she was fed. I mean, we get, do I look like a Jamaican nanny? Me no one, no partner. Fuck out of my face with that. That is the corniest shit that we've ever heard in a Saw movie. We get more pointless dialogue between Zeke and Shink. I get it. There was some funny stuff in there. There's some funny shit in there, but it's pointless. We didn't need that long take where they're walking through the subway, going down the stairs, and he's talking about you can ride more dick in the daylight, blah, 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 blah. We don't need that. It's just...
Oh, man. I love it.
Why?
Character development.
Fuck the characters, man. This is not
It all comes down to taste. It all comes down to taste. Really does.
One of the director, Bousman, and Chris Rock's few disagreements came in the subway, where Banks thought that he should be able to, or Zeke thought that he should be able to recognize his partner's remains, but Bousman argued that it would be too destroyed and you wouldn't be able to see it. You wouldn't be able to know who it was. So that's an interesting behind the scenes thing. And he is right. I don't think you'd be able to, if your boy got ran over by a train, I don't know that we'd be able to see. But then we get an absolutely gross optic of the tongue and the badge in the box. Like, that was nasty. That looked like something out of the original Blair Witch Project. But overall, just a pretty ho-hum open to the movie. I'm not super stoked about it at this point.
Oh, go ahead, Mike.
Crazy. Sorry, it's just crazy. The things he hates is the things I like. Normally, me and Dustin are pretty close on movies.
Yeah, I'm about to say, y'all two agree a lot.
You don't like trains, Mike?
I don't. No,
That's a great song.
No, it's not. Everything pre that song, every train album pre that song, I really love. Everything post that, I hate. I'm a more Meet Virginia guy. Little Drops of Jupiter. Yeah, everything from Hey Soul Sister. I mean, Marry Me's a creepy ass song. People played at their wedding for some reason. Fucking stupid. Anyway,
that's a great song. I don't know if Brian's going to keep that in or not, but
it's creepy. Keep it in. Keep it in. Let the magic flow.
All right. Garza has them all circle up, revealing that it is Bostwick. She tells them about the conductor seeing Bostwick briefly hanging there and where the package was picked up. She asks if they have street images, and his last known spot was at the fireworks. Zeke asks Fitch if he actually contacted Bostwick's wife, and Zeke now snaps on the rest of the cops. He says the other shot him in the back while Bostwick was his friend. He played with my kids. Garza calls Zeke into the bathroom, and she tells him she gets it, but the whole team needs to cover this. Zeke says he wants to be a lead to catch this motherfucker. She announces he's lead, and Zeke addresses him about being a snitch. Zeke says there should be plenty of footage and images out there, and they don't listen until Garza addresses them to listen. Shank asks where they're going. Zeke says to pay our respects, so put on a suit. Zeke hugs Bostwick's wife, and he sees his soon-to-be ex-wife there. He asks if his son is there, and says, your sister can see my son, but I can't. They stop arguing, and Zeke shuts Shank out the house. Zeke talks to Miss Bostwick about the murder, and he asks her a few questions. She brings up the only thing weird was a black SUV outside last week. Bostwick went outside and argued with the guy, but she didn't hear anything. Zeke asked for his devices. Zeke walks outside and Kara tells Zeke, he knew you were a good cop. Find out who did this. Zeke makes it home and he hears something from inside of his apartment in which he notices the front door is already open. He points a gun at his dad, who was in the room. He asks how he got in, and Marcus asks his son how he's doing with Bostwick's death. He says he's fucked up. Jigsaw copycat. That's going to be tough, Marcus says. Marcus and Zeke begin to argue, and Marcus says, what you talking about, Willis? And they bring up their differences. Marcus says he's going to Kara's to pay respects, and to come over tonight. He'll order food, and they'll go over the case. Flashbacks to Zeke, revealing he turned in a dirty cop. The cop claims the witness pulled a gun on him, but Zeke doesn't buy it. Back at the station, Zeke says he's been staring at this for 5 hours and nothing. Shink asks to borrow his phone, and we get a couple close-ups of John Kramer. Garza walks in asking if they got anything on camera. Fitz checks out where a broken surveillance camera is. Marcus stops outside an old abandoned building, and he pulls out his gun and walks inside. Fitch finds Bostwick on the camera, and he's chasing Benny Wrights, a serious tweaker. Fitch knows the building Wright occupies and goes to check it out without telling Zeke. Zeke tells Shink to go home and see his family and compliments his work as they both leave. Fitch makes it to the building and he calls out for Benny. He finds a person lying on a mattress he thinks is him, but it's just a pig mask, and Fitch pulls his gun out. He calls Krause as we see someone walk behind him and sneaks out and chloroforms Fitch. Fitch wakes up in a tub with an iron helmet on and his fingers all attached to a trap. The TV turns on. I want to play a game, and it cuts to black. All right, Brian, that's the next set of scenes they got. What'd you think?
So just a little tidbit on the last set of scenes that I didn't touch on. Bozeman actually wanted a subway tunnel, but he was told the logistics weren't in his budget. He held his ground, and it was eventually built. Well, a subway tunnel set was built to meet his needs, but it's super tiny that uses forced perspective and even a little CG to make things look bigger than they are. So just throwing that out there too. Also, last set of scenes. Look, I'm an IT guy. You know the cringing I did when Chris Rock just stuck that damn USB in any police department network computer? You don't know where that thing's been? Look, there's got to be better procedures in this. This is how Russians win. I just want you to know that.
There is a better procedure. He stuck it in his partner's computer. He even said it. I'm not sticking this in my computer.
Look, this is
Fuck
a
you.
part.
He did say that. I was saying he did say that.
Look, this is the part. They're all networked together. Look, he didn't even know how networks work. Anyway, go ahead. Or anyway, I'm sorry. Let me go ahead.
He said, "Fuck it, I'm done. Fuck it."
Anyway, I gave a shout
Do it
out.
live.
I gave a shout out to Marisol last set of scenes, but I will agree, and this is where I actually wrote this because she has her biggest little speech here. She's miscast. Not that she's bad, but she doesn't even seem like this battle-hardened badass captain. I mean, she seems too close to her character on Riverdale, actually. But anyway, again, I love her, just not believable in this role. Maybe that's just me.
Well, when I was watching it, I thought the same thing, but I think that later in the movie,
yeah. Where they
I think
they imply she sleeps her way up or something.
Yeah, they imply it. So I could forgive that. I think it's just she's not a very good actress. Go ahead.
Wow. Well, mark her off the guest list.
Man.
No, she could be a guest on Hers and My Honeymoon, but just not.
All right, another little tidbit here. Sam Jackson's first line of dialogue, not here, but production-wise, the first thing they filmed with him was very fittingly him saying, "Motherfucker." Loved it.
Goddamn right it was.
Darren
Chattanooga native.
And listen, this is a fun fact I think probably everybody has, but Bozeman was unsettled while filming the first scene with Samuel L. Jackson. He told the actor what to do for a shot, and then Jackson said, "Nah, I'm just going to sit over here in a different spot." He said, "My butthole puckered," says Bozeman. However, after speaking to a friend who'd previously worked with Jackson, he realized that the actor was just testing him to see if he was a filmmaker who would stand up for what he wanted. So it doesn't say, though, how it actually worked out and if he bowed up to Jackson or if he got run over. But interesting story nonetheless. And that's all I really had on the set of scenes, just a lot of character development, some cop work being done. Again, I'm good with pretty much everything in this. I would say maybe some of it's a little rushed because of the runtime and especially in the relationship department, especially between Zeke and Shank. But runtime, I'm sure, but you don't have someone who's on a force for this long and supposedly this jaded really just suddenly open up to some rookie. So I don't know, even for a police drama, that just seems a little forced to me.
Yeah, this set of scenes is, like you said, a lot of character development. Not a whole lot really happens, but I don't know. Maybe it's just me in the way. Maybe I was just in a good mood the last two times I watched because I watched it again this afternoon. I thought Marisol was fine. Like I thought she was totally fine as the chief here. Like she didn't bother me in the slightest. I mean, she's not exactly what I would call like a plus to the movie, but I definitely don't think she drags anything down. Like I don't know. I thought she was cast pretty well, but um, you know, again, we get more character development and more backstory on why the cops don't like Zeke and why he doesn't like them, and you get to kind of meet Boswick's wife and all this stuff. So it's just a lot of running plot stuff, but you get to see good police work. There wasn't a whole lot to take notes on here, which I found kind of interesting. Like I said, there's parts of this movie that get a little boring, but also this is the only kill, quote unquote, that I could see coming a mile away was Fitch. And it's basically just because he was such an asshole to Zeke in the previous set of scenes. You almost knew who was going to be knocked off by who was an asshole and who wasn't, but the standout in this set of scenes is Chris Rock and Samuel L. Jackson going back and forth. Now, I will say, as much as I've kind of liked the dialogue and have disagreed with my fellow co-hosts that I love dearly, you guys aren't wrong on this. What you talking about, Willis? Because that is not good. It's a 50-year-old reference at this point. Fucking different strokes. Okay, like it doesn't work. It didn't land, but that's one line. Everything else I think works pretty well. I saw you last week.
You
What?
liked the me no one no partner?
Yeah, it didn't bother me. It's not that I like, oh my God, that's so good. But
I was ready to turn it off at that.
Man, I did. What I did like is when Chris Rock talked about seeing his dad outside the building. He just gave me the nod like we're the only two black people at the mall. That shit was hilarious, man. Sorry, but it was.
No, that was fun.
But again, I like their interaction. You can kind of tell there's that father-son connection. Now, obviously, they're not really related, but I thought their on-screen chemistry was good. And the only reason Samuel L. Jackson agreed to do the film is because Chris Rock was a part of it. So, again, good casting, at least I thought. Samuel L. Jackson just screams hardened police chief to me. I thought he was really well cast here. And that's pretty much all I had. This set of scenes with just a lot of dialogue, a lot of getting there. But I'll say this, we're about to get into it. There's two things. One, I really like the next trap with Fitch. I think, I want to go ahead and compliment all the traps in this movie. I think they're all creative. They're all pretty fun. They're not perfect or anything, but I do think they're gross. The gore is proper. I know the one we're about to get into, stuff got cut and all that. But, second thing I want to say, and it's a small nitpick, why are we cutting the black at the Fitch kill? Just show it. Just keep showing it. We don't need to go back and see it. Let's just show it right here. And I know I'm not the only one that had that complaint. So, but outside of that, I really like this set of scenes. Just as far as giving me some good character development between cops, but it did feel a little rushed. But I'm not mad at the runtime because, hey, you get me out of here about an hour and 37 minutes, we're talking. That's what I'm talking about.
So the first lines of my notes for this set of scenes was talking about Garcia's acting. So we're just going to skip
no
that.
one, no partner.
We get more pointless scenes of Zeke getting mad about who told the wife and then yelling, fuck you, fuck you. Like, God, I hated that.
Hey, Dustin, real quick. When you wrote me, no Juan, no partner in the group chat, I was like, what did James Wan ever do to you? God damn.
Oh, man.
All right. I took issue with her just grabbing him, going in the men's room and telling him to get out. Like, you're in a fucking police precinct. There's no offices available anywhere. You had to go right then and there into the bathroom for him to get his way and say, I'm lead on this case. And she just said, okay. Like that, I don't know. That was a nitpick, I know, but whatever. Line that I absolutely hated. Some of you think I'm a rat. Some think I'm a snitch. Some of you are mad because I fucked your mother. Okay. We're doing that in Saw movies now.
God damn, I loved it. Fuck, man. It's crazy. It's crazy.
Now, when they go to Boz's house, I did find it weird that, Zeke's ex-wife, soon to be ex-wife or whatever, was there, and it's literally never. We don't see her again after this set of scenes. Like, they should. Why even have her at the house if that's a storyline that's going nowhere? Like, he could have just mentioned that in passing in the subway like he did and just leave it. Instead, she's at the house. I don't know. And another part of this scene that I have issue with is, Boz's wife mentioned a black SUV outside the house. I would have liked to see more played up on that, like Zeke trying to find out who drives the SUV, and he does all this side work trying to find this SUV because he's sure that's connected. But instead, like, it's just mentioned and forgotten. Yep. So that was
good point.
Don't like that. Pointless. Now, I do love Tennessee native Samuel L. Jackson. Love him. But him and Chris Rock, like, their banter is just too comedic for a Saw movie. I'm not saying it was bad, because it was good. It was funny. I did like when he's like, "You nod at me like we're the only two black guys at the mall," and he's like, "I could have killed you," and he had the gun. Like, I like their back and forth, but it just does. It feels out of place. It's like a fart in church. Don't drain my battery watching Twilight. That's a line we're putting in a Saw movie. Twilight in 2021 when this was released, 2020 when it was made. We're referencing Twilight. Okay, all right. And then, I agree. Fitch, like, this one was telegraphed. He's letting us know he's going to be targeted and he's going to die. You're just going to steal a gun after not telling your partner about what you just, or not telling your lead detective, rather, about what you just discovered. Like, yeah, could have saw that one coming. But my initial thoughts on
why he stole that gun? Did he steal that gun to plant it on somebody, or, like, what happened there? Why did he steal the gun?
Don't know, because the next fucking thing we see, he's in the warehouse and he's getting put in a trap. Like, your guess is as good as mine.
Just making sure I didn't miss
something. It's just another one. No, it's another one of those pointless, like, dead ends that we just don't really going to add to show us he's a piece of shit, just for the sake of showing us he's a piece of shit person. He's going to be in a trap. Now, my initial thoughts on his trap were, what the fuck is going on here? Like, he's in the water and his fingers are all hooked up, but and I agree. It left you wondering that for too long, because it's weird that we didn't get to see the full trap or hear the game before it cut to black. Like, it just shows us this, and then boom, we're off to something else. Now, I know that there have been traps in the Saw franchise to where we don't see them in real time. Like, we see the aftermath, and then it shows us flashbacks of what actually happened. That's fine. But introducing it to us like this is like, you're giving us blue balls with this trap. You're going to show it to us, but then take it away, only to show us after the fact. Like, I didn't like that decision, but I can forgive it, honestly, more than some of the other stuff in this set of scenes.
I think the gun was just stolen just for him to use, honestly. But that's just my best guess.
I do too. But the bottom line is, he stole a gun from a store owner, and like you said, that's what I think, Nico. But
why does a cop not have a gun?
Why would he not have his gun?
Yeah, exactly.
Exactly.
Steal from the Asian man. Can't prosper out here. All right. Anywho, back to the movie. Shank calls Zeke and he jokes his Shank calls Zeke and he jokes his wife might be having a dick night out. Shank tells Zeke that Bostwick lied on the stand more than anyone else by a wide margin. Zeke gets to Marcus' apartment where food is waiting on them, but Marcus isn't home. Zeke enters the apartment and walks around finding no one. Flashback to Banks as chief, snapping on Zeke saying he shouldn't let him become a cop. Garza says he turned in a dirty cop. Pete was a scumbag. Press will make him out to be a hero. Banks says he'll have to do so much internal control. Marcus slams the door into a reporter's face who walks away injured. Zeke leaves the apartment. Another delivery for Zeke. Zeke unboxes it and plugs in the flash drive. A spiral on the side of a truck, and we see a pig puppet. They have a bone to pick with the police department. If you're going to point fingers, start by pointing at yourself. They take off to check out this bridge location. They find the truck and Zeke approaches. He opens the door and a pig carcass falls out. They find another box and it has Fitch's fingers and badge in it. He flashes back to when he requested backup and Fitch didn't come help him. That's the day Zeke took a bullet to his stomach. Banks snaps on them and says he's going to call dispatch and find out who was the closest officer. He slams Fitch's head into the wall and pistol whips him. Cops pull him away as he says, "You're done. Don't let me see your face again." Zeke tells them find Fitch's last location. They find his body, and we see his game now. The water will rise and electrocute him in 90 seconds unless you sacrifice your fingers. He killed a man for no reason, and it can't happen again. His game starts, and the water pours. His fingers begin to tear off, but not quick enough. He dies when he's electrocuted in the water. Shink asks, "What's special about this bridge?" It's where he killed that kid. Zeke calls him out for not telling them about the surveillance feed. Zeke and Shink go to where Benny Wrights gets his meth. Zeke dresses up as a meth head trying to get some from the drug dealer. He gives a spill about an iPad, but he puts some kind of exploding thing inside of the paint in the bucket. They storm the building as the drug dealer's face is covered in paint. Zeke and Shink break into the apartment and avoid being gunned down. They slam him through a glass table and his leg is seriously injured. Zeke now makes an Instagram joke, Jesus Christ, and Shink asks him a question he doesn't answer. Zeke now pours liquor on his wound and hits the bone. The drug dealer says that's Benny in the picture. He's one of his best customers, but he hasn't seen him in 2 days. Word is he overdosed. Zeke says Benny is dead. People just don't take a break from meth. That device wasn't designed by someone with rotten teeth. Shink asks, "What about this jigsaw angle?" This is something I truly hate because it's so inaccurate. Zeke says John Kramer didn't target cops, and I wrote my notes, which is absolutely incorrect.
Yeah, that's total bullshit. Even I got to call BS on that one. That's bad.
Whoever did this has another motive. Shink says someone's pulling all the strings. Are they sending you the boxes because you're the lead detective or because it's you? Anyone out there enemies? Zeke and Shink are at a church now looking for Pete Dunleavy. He snitched on him and got 9 years. Pete says he's the last guy he expected to see here. Pete tells Shink to watch out, he'll stab him in the back. Flashback to when Pete is interrogating a witness who says he saw a cop throw a victim off a roof. Pete now shoots and kills the man and plants a gun on him. Pete says he takes responsibility. He shouldn't have done it. That man had a family. Zeke asks him where he was July 4th, and Pete says he punched a guy and he's still on probation and got a pass for another cop due to loyalty. Shink says he can't believe he used to be a cop. Zeke says he needs to start honoring the code or you'll be watching your back forever. He says maybe it's a good thing they made us partners. Zeke is at his dad's apartment again, leaving him a voicemail. He ransacks the place but finds nothing. All right, go ahead, Brian. That's the next set of scenes I got.
Okay, so I actually took that as he didn't target only cops, I guess. But I guess that's not the dialogue, though, but that's just how I took it. And so, like, this is off on a tangent, and if you want to save it to the end, we can. But, like, what if you're going to make another Saw movie and you don't do this because you don't like it because it doesn't feel like Saw, like, what do you do? Because, I mean, you've already had 2 instances with Amanda and what's his name that I don't like making them seem like they've been there since the very beginning. So, like, which is, by the way, stuff you hate in Scream. But we'll move on. We won't throw that out there. But, like, what do you do, like, without rehashing the same exact thing? Like, what do you?
You
like,
don't.
What
you
do
leave it
do
alone.
Anything else? Okay. All right. Well, I'm just curious. I was just curious.
I mean, I'm fine. I'm fine. Like Jigsaw, which okay. I'm fine with new ideas and new takes on things. Like I like Jigsaw. I had a higher rating than any of you 3. And I'm fine with Amanda and Hoffman doing their thing as quote unquote copycats. So you either do more of that. Robin Hood. What was his name? Dr. Holy shit, I can't remember his name. From the first movie, Dr.
Oh.
Anyway, maybe bring him back. Make him fucking the killer now. Because we don't find out what really happened to him. Gordon.
Dr. Gordon.
Dr. Gordon. Let Dr.
Robin
Gordon
Hood
do this
threw
shit.
me off, but yeah, he wasn't Robin Hood.
Well, he was Robin Hood. He'll always be Robin Hood.
Men in tights.
But,
he's a
yes.
shitty actor
Yeah.
too. Anyway.
Oh,
Wow.
come on.
Princess Bride.
Anyway.
Wow.
Yeah, I like Princess Bride, but he's the down part. Anyway, go ahead.
Anyway, so like if you want me to just spitball here, let me think of something to do. Dr. Gordon fled the country. He's over in Europe and he's recreating Saw shit in Europe. Boom.
Yeah, okay.
The possibilities are endless because they don't really know about Jigsaw in Europe, I'm sure. Like they may stumble upon it and doing research, but
And you know what? What I
There.
like about them doing this is since it's a spinoff or whatever, you could still do that and that be Saw whatever
Yeah,
number
for sure.
and like go back to that original kind of timeline too. Not that it's a different timeline, but you know what I'm saying. Like it's like this is just a different like hey, different copycat killer over here. I don't know. It was interesting to me, I guess, because of so I was just curious. I was just curious on your take. That was all. Not that it's wrong.
And Mike, how are you going to say he's a terrible actor? Were you not? Are you afraid of the claw? It's the claw. Whoa.
It's gonna get you. Gonna get you. Anyway,
Liar, liar,
I
pal.
like Liar Liar. I just don't think he's very good. That's all.
anyway, I wanted to give a shout out to Jordan Oram, who was in charge of the cinematography. Like, I loved the flashback scenes, kind of having that tint to them that was different than the blue tint the rest of the movie had. I liked that. But now the scene with is it Chev, the drug dealer? I don't even know if he had a name. But all good and all until they decided to bum rush him. Like, that was terrible police work. Like, I don't know who wrote that part, but Rock definitely didn't sell it. There's no way anyone with training bum rushes that guy like that in that situation. They were too far away from the wall. He had a Uzi. I don't know. It's just, to me, it was just terrible. Now, to me, I thought the dialogue was funny. Like, the leg is fucked up. Like, that definitely, that made me laugh. Like, that was especially being the first thing he did. So, Fitch's trap, this seems unwinnable, right? Like, I mean,
Oh, for sure.
and
100%.
I read where they wanted to make them winnable, and I just don't see how that's.
I don't think any of them are
You
very
can't win
winnable.
that one. There was some like the first one. I thought like if he could rip his tongue out and get out, but he probably
That's
died
not.
anyway.
So that's not winning. That's
Yeah,
not
I mean,
winning.
well, yeah, but anyway, yeah, I love it, but it seems unwinnable. I mean, great effects. This was one of the. This is actually the one scene my son happened to walk in on while I was watching it this time, and he made a face and was like, "Wow, why do you do that?" and just walked off. So anyway, but bravo to our Francois Diogenes, who has been with the franchise since Saw 2, and his team that consisted of Patrick Baxter in the special effects makeup department. Baxter has received Emmy nominations for his work, which include Elysium, X-Men Apocalypse, Land of the Dead, Evil Dead remakes. Oh, and what's this? Star Trek Strange New Worlds. So it took me a ways to get to Star Trek reference in here, but whoop, there you go.
Man, how bad was X-Men Apocalypse though, Brian? Like, oh man, that one in Dark Phoenix.
Hot
Like,
take,
what
I
are-
did
shit,
not
what are-
hate it as much.
What are those movies?
I did
don't know what
not
you guys
hate
are
it as
talking
much
about.
as the world did. I liked them, actually.
they're movies that are better than the movie we're
yeah,
covering tonight.
Maybe they are. Maybe they are. I don't know, but not my thing. Anyway, see, I don't hate on stuff I don't like. I just I let everyone like what they want. I don't bully people like some people that I know. Anyway, interesting. So okay, this is probably the first set of scenes to me that gives away what Shink really is. He's playing it a little too coy. Like, I don't know, but all the stuff with the baby crying. Yeah, we find out what that is later. I'm not saying that's a giveaway, but just the way he's kind of portraying himself a little bit here, I'm kind of like, even upon first viewing, I'm like, it's probably him, isn't it? He's probably the one behind all of this. And now I don't think that's a spoiler. Hopefully, again, for a second week in a row, you should watch the movie and then listen to us. That's kind of how that works. Okay. But, him revealing that Boz lied on the stand, all that stuff we already kind of figured out, because that seems to be the motive here going forward is corrupt cops. It's the story, with Zeke and everything and how he turned in a corrupt cop and all that stuff. You're not quite sure how it's going to tie in, but you understand this copycat killer's motives here. But here's the thing with Fitch's trap. It's not winnable. I don't really think there's a winnable trap in this whole movie. Part of me think that, I know they said they wanted to make him winnable, but I don't think a single one of them are winnable. So if that was their goal, they didn't succeed. The first one, I guess you could kind of win, like we touched on with the tongue, but in this one, yeah, you got to bite down. But the man's fingers are getting ripped off, and this is the one of the few things that got cut by the MPAA. I know that they were going to show all of his fingers getting ripped off, and they didn't quite take it that far. But very gruesome, very the visuals look good. I think the effects look good. The gore is very. It kind of upsets me a little bit. Same way a lot of the other Saw traps do. So I think that this is a successful Saw trap from a visual standpoint. You could just kind of tell where it was going with Marcus. Him going in that building, disappearing, all of that stuff. So again, we have some really good police drama stuff to me. And I want to touch on the drug guy scene a little bit, you could probably take that scene out, in my opinion, or at least trim it down very much so. I'm like Brian, I didn't mind the dialogue, but I don't necessarily feel like that scene is necessary. I don't really think it plays in a ton to what ends up going on. I feel like we could have just had like a little blip and then moved on. We could have shaved about 4 minutes off the film. So pretty good set of scenes, except for the whole drug bust thing or whatever. I could have gone without that.
Yeah, so I agree with what you said there about this set of scenes. We start to really pick up on, okay, it's Shink. Like I did, at least. I had my suspicions, and then what sold it for me was him telling Zeke that Boz lied on the stands. We already know that because we got to see the Mr. Snuggles video when he's in his trap, and we heard why he's in the trap. So when you have Shink reiterate that and tell it to Zeke, it's like, why are we hearing that a second time? So that to me was what sold it. The flashback, what did this accomplish? It didn't further any storyline. It just showed some really bad fake facial hair, and it showed some dynamic between the characters. It shows us that, hey, they have known each other for years. Okay. Like, it just didn't really accomplish anything. I didn't need that. I did think it was funny. Now, Brian, you mentioned how no police officer with training is going to, what you said, rush the person. What I took offense to is when he just opened the fucking package with no gloves
that's
on.
True too. Yeah. They brought it to him in full gloves.
This
and he was just like, fuck it.
Yeah. He's like, fuck the gloves, man. Let's open this shit. So, okay. Then we finally get to see Fitch's trap, and it's pretty brutal. That's where I will give this movie a lot of credit, is these are some brutal fucking traps. They're nasty. And it's funny, Nico and I agree on the traps. I feel like all these traps are winnable. But the movie sucks, and you guys like the movie and think that the traps aren't very practical and winnable. So I think that's pretty funny. I did like when they're in the car and he mentions, like, this is some New Jack City shit, and Chris Rock played Pookie in New Jack City. So I will give him that. That's a hell of a line. I like that one. And holy shit, man, they get upstairs and motherfucker just lets the Uzi fly. Like, what the fuck? I mean, I get it. You're a drug dealer and the cops are rushing you. You got to protect yourself. But damn, man, he unloaded the hell out of that Uzi. I do like, so a lot of the scenes in this that are not direct police work and directly related to these traps and figuring out who the killer is, a lot of these scenes I don't like. I think they add nothing. The flashback, the dialogue between him and Shink walking through the subway, the robbery scene in the beginning. But here's one I do like. I do like that the subplot of him going to talk to his old partner. Like, it adds a nice layer and at least tries to let us, it kind of throws us off the scent of it being Shink. It's like, okay, now we've got someone else to be suspicious of. Is it him? So I like that subplot. I will give, there's some nice things I could say about this set of scenes. I like that we add that Dunleavy, and I like the traps in this movie. Other than that, pretty ho-hum set of scenes.
All right, back to the police station, and Zeke leaves Shink a voicemail asking where he's at as the cops circle the courier who brings in another package. Garza okays Zeke opening the package, even though it could be a bomb. We see a pig mask and the doll wrapped in skin and a note. Zeke checks under the skin and he sees a Charlie tattoo, which indicates it's Shink. They find a bottle from Constantine Paints, the place where Zeke and Marcus took a picture out front of. Zeke is at the store and being asked how he knew of the place. Dad used to take him here. They go in the back and see a corpse that's been completely skinned. They analyze their tape and it calls out Detective Shink. Zeke has flashbacks as the body is being skinned. Zeke becomes emotional as the press hounds the police chief. Zeke looks at the Shink family photo as Garza gets a text from Marcus Banks saying to check out case file 9246 in the cold case room. Zeke gets a call Officer Down at 3rd and Beeman. He makes it there and a random cop says just a random person in a pig mask attacked him. Zeke flashes back to the note, as you're waiting for more bodies to drop, I'll take your head. He realizes Angie is in danger, but she doesn't answer his call. Zeke heads back to the station. Garza is in the cold case room and she realizes it's a trap. The door slams shut, and gas grenades fill the room. She passes out as she shoots some random shots. Garza wakes up restrained to a table with something covering her face. She finds a tape player that calls out her, covering up her corruption. Boiling hot wax will cover her face, suffocating her unless she snaps her spinal cord on the blade below. The hot wax begins pouring on her face as Zeke looks for her frantically. He's told she's in the basement. They make it down to the cold case room as Angie's face is covered in this hot wax. Zeke finds her dead on the table. He removes the hot wax and her skin is completely melted. He tries mouth to mouth to no success. Zeke walks out the room completely shook looking. He tells them to lock it down. No one gets out the precinct. There's 13 minutes of surveillance tape missing. They realize Pete Dunleavy may have accessed it, but another detective says he shouldn't have access anymore. He now says your father had access and asks when's the last time you've seen your father. Zeke attacks him and he says that Zeke is too close. Zeke snaps and bangs on his dash. Zeke is at the church looking for Pete, but can't find him. He calls his dad, but no answer again as he's captured as he walks out the church door. Back to Marcus Banks. He's in this building and finds these doors with a spiral on it. He finds a wall covered in spirals and he finds, "Do you want to play a game, Chief Banks?" He goes deeper into the building and he sees a puppet shadow behind a plastic sheet. He finds several pigs' masks and an old typewriter. Banks goes to make a call but is caught. Zeke wakes up handcuffed to a pipe. He sees someone and asks if they're okay. He cries out for help and he finds a hacksaw. He tries to cut the cuff but no success. He used the saw to pull a hairpin to him and he picks the lock. He realizes it's Pete who's hanging by his hands. He shakes Pete, waking him up, who yells to get him out. Zeke asks him if he erased the surveillance tape and if he killed the other officers. Zeke plays the tape, but it's for Detective Banks. It says his career was shattered like glass. He can be left in prison forever, or there's a key to free him. A machine turns on and glass bottles are broken, and the glass is launched at Zeke and Pete, stabbing them repeatedly. Zeke tries, while the machine stops, to get Pete free. Zeke realizes the key is in the trash can, and he uses the can as a shield as he unlocks Pete's lock. He gets Pete free, but he's dead from his wounds. And the next set of scenes are the ending. Go ahead, Brian.
Pete and Zeke and Zeke and Pete and Pete and Zeke. I felt like I was watching Pete and Nickelodeon.
I said Pete, my man. Hell
Hell
yeah,
yeah.
great fucking show.
That was
Yes,
a
it
great
was.
show. You know how irritated I am that that's one of the few Nickelodeon shows they didn't put on Paramount Plus. What the fuck are you doing?
There's like a weird rights dispute with the music they used and stuff. So I think it costs a lot of money to put Pete and Pete on Paramount Plus. Anyway,
Pay it.
Anyway, so this is the part of the movie I dislike probably more than any of it. I mean, the captain's whole deal down in Cold Case, there's just way too much plot armor, I think, to like how is he able to get in there and do everything to make this entire thing happen. I mean, there's loud ass gunshots. Like, I get it was in the vault, but still, like, it just didn't resonate with me is all. Plus, it shows him like gas her and then cuts to Zeke still fucking driving, and then bam, she's tied up and the trap is set. So it's like, I don't know, this entire thing, you just have to leave too much believability on the table for me. Another trap that seems unwinnable, kind of. I mean, like, I can see you having to rip off an appendage, but severing your own spinal cord? Shit, I'm dying. I mean, I know that. I don't know. Plus, they're walking around like, I don't know. It's just they're walking around upstairs. It's just ridiculous to me. Like, my least favorite kill in the movie because of all of that, honestly. I do like how we kind of shift gears here to Marcus after Zeke gets kidnapped, which makes sense since this whole movie thing is really about him, the plot. I mean, like, in his the corruption he let, kind of happen under his watch anyway. But then bam, it just fucking ends. Like, he walks around a little bit and then he's caught too. And then we're back to Zeke. Like, what we should have done here is just have it from the perspective of Marcus the rest of the way and have Zeke, like in a trap, and, Marcus, just, let's face it, I mean, he's playing Samuel L. Jackson like he does everywhere, so I couldn't remember his name at first, but Marcus. I was just going to call him Samuel L. Jackson. I mean, that's what I want anyway, is just Samuel L. Jackson. But have him choose basically between, his son's life and him, and have him give himself up to set Zeke free from a trap. I don't know, maybe that was a little bit of a better ending to me, but we aren't there yet, and I'll be honest, at this point, it's kind of dragging on a little bit. Like, we have 30 minutes left at this exact stage, but I'm ready to get the climax here. But I will say it was interesting kind of twist to have, kind of the Gordon reference with the saw and everything, him bolted to the pipe, and but just like having a bobby pin there within reach, it kind of made it seem unnecessary. Then it was just like, okay, well, here's a little bit of a Easter egg for you, but I don't know. It just felt like unnecessary to me. But anyway, go ahead, Mike.
Yeah, a lot happens in this little bit of time. This is where earlier you talked about the movie feeling rushed. This is the part where it really feels rushed. Now I know I'm also ready to get to the climax, but what they shove into this part of the movie is a lot to take in. You get the skinning and stuff, which that's fine or whatever. That ends up being dumb and not necessary. So whatever on that, but you get to, the chief and the wax kill and all that, man, I don't know. Maybe I like all these traps, but I'm a fan of that trap. Is it illogical a little bit and unwinnable just because who severs their spine and ends up okay? Not most people. I'm sure there's people that have, but to sever your own spinal cord and to get out of a trap kind of seems unwinnable to me, just my opinion. But I actually like the hot wax kill. I mean, I don't know how Nico doesn't like it. He's such a big fan of House of Wax, but anyway, but I think it works. She fights to the end. She screams "fuck you" and all that stuff. Like, again, I think it's a pretty good kill, pretty solid. But like you said, this kind of becomes a little bit of a Sam Jackson show here for a minute. And rightfully so. And I like the way he portrays this character. Now, again, I don't know if I'm supposed to like Marcus Banks or if I'm supposed to not like him, which I think is interesting to me. But that's just kind of how I feel. But you really get to this glass kill, and this may be my least favorite trap of the film, just because flinging glass at people, I mean, okay, fine, whatever, I guess. But you mentioned something about, having him chained to the pipe there and stuff. Man, that was fan service. And that's the kind of fan service that I complained about in Halloween 2018. So I'm going to complain about it here. Yeah, it seemed out of place. It seemed unnecessary. I wasn't a big fan of it. But a really cool visual is Chris Rock with all that glass stuck in him. Like, I think that actually looked pretty cool.
Right.
Yeah. But I mean, there's just a lot that they packed. They went about 2 sets of scenes without a ton happening, just, some police work, some investigative work. And then they tried to shove a lot right here that I think kind of made the movie feel rushed, didn't flesh out the whole plot the way that I thought they should have. But I still like it. There's still some really gruesome stuff that happens here, but I just wish that they had taken their time a little bit with it. Maybe space some of these kills out just a little bit.
Yeah. The skin body is fucking gnarly.
Oh, it's brutal.
Like
that. Yeah.
That looked, that was gross looking. And like, that's okay. But I will say, it triggered me. I was like, man, that's weird. We see the aftermath, but we never see the game. And we're led to believe that this is Shank. Like, to me, that was another giveaway that, okay, it's Shank.
100%.
Because we never got to see a game. And so, like, I don't know. It was too obvious for me at that point. And then, okay, so Garcia gets a text from Marcus's phone, right? Or did he? Marcus had his phone. They show him with his phone in his hand after this fact. And so, and if he didn't have his phone, or if Shank didn't have Marcus's phone, then wouldn't she not realize this is not Marcus's phone number? You're going to tell me that with the history that they have, she didn't have Marcus's phone number saved. So which is it? Either he didn't have Marcus's phone or he did. And in neither way makes sense for me. Okay. And then she goes down into the dungeon, into the safe. First of all, what kind of fucking police precinct has their basement door is a safe? I did think it was cool. The name of the safe company was a Pulp Fiction reference. The names on it was Jules and I think Vincent and Jules was the name of the safe company. So that's a nice little tip of the cap to Samuel L. Jackson there. Excuse me. Sorry. And then, okay, so she's trapped. She's down here, and the gas is going off. She starts blindly firing a gun inside the police precinct. That's not very captainly behavior. She has to file a report for every bullet discharged. So that doesn't make a lot of sense. But her trap itself, actually, I hated it. It wasn't logical to me. Sever your spinal cord and it'll stop. Like, that's not an escape. The other traps, like, okay, you rip your tongue out, you can move out of the way of the train. You rip your fingers out, and you can the machine will recognize your fingers gone, so it'll stop putting water into the tank. This one didn't make sense. Like, how's the trap going to know that your spinal cord is severed? So that just wasn't logical to me. And I thought the wax actually looked bad. But then Zeke's calling her, trying to get her on the phone and everything. Why wouldn't he call literally anyone else in the department and say, hey, where's Angie? Find Angie now. Go to her. Because they knew that she went down to the basement when he got there. They said she's in the basement. So he just tried to call her, and I guess he tried to call the station. But you don't have any of your colleagues' phone numbers. Call their cell phones. Like, that's another thing that just didn't make sense to me. Okay, he gets down into the safe. So they finally get the door open, and he just starts peeling the wax off her face. How did that not burn his hands? That wax was still smoking. Like, it was still clearly very, very hot. And he's just peeling it off, like, not grimacing or nothing. Didn't faze him. It was gnarly, though, seeing when he peeled the wax off. Her skin was coming with it. That was pretty fucking gross. Another issue that I have is, why would Dunleavy or Marcus have access? Because, I mean, what's the protocol for shutting down access after termination or after separation? Like, it seems like a security threat.
Just like putting USBs in random fucking computers. I hear you, Dustin. I hear you on the security. No network security in this goddamn building.
Oh,
I feel you,
man. These are like the cops from Haddonfield. Anyway,
yeah. If these criminals exist in 1800, they'd be putting up Hall of Fame numbers, because these
I'd take a Deputy Dewey over these motherfuckers. Anyway,
Deputy, you damn right. Thank you. I do like that when we see the handcuffs. I get what you're saying, Brian. It didn't make sense because the bobby pin was just clearly there. And it was literally meant to just appease. I get what you're saying, Mike. It was a fan grab, like, hey, appease the fans. Remember this in the first movie? But here's where I think they could have capitalized on it more. Like, they should have planted more seeds, making us think maybe it's Dr. Gordon. And I love the score. Like, we get the authentic original Saw score as he's trying to saw through those handcuffs there. Love that. That made me feel good about.
No, I think I would have been disappointed if it wasn't Dr. Gordon. If you made me think it was, by the end I would have been like, oh fuck, they should have had Dr. Gordon. I don't know.
Yeah. See, I get what you're saying. Like, it would have been disappointing, I guess, for it to tease being Gordon, and then we've come to find out it wasn't Gordon. But at the same time, anything to throw us off the scent of it being Shink, because in my mind, I'd already determined that's who it is at this point. And so to me, that takes out some of the mystery and some of the fun of the movie, is because I've pretty much decided and determined who it is. Now, here's another thing. This is a crazy trap to me. And it would hurt like the dickens. But to me, I feel like it would have maybe taken a little bit more time to kill him, just throwing shards of glass at him and cutting him up.
Yes, I agree with that.
Maybe I'm wrong. But then also, I feel like it didn't give Zeke. If I'm right, then I don't think this is maybe this is the one trap I don't think is winnable then, because it didn't give Zeke enough time to get him out. Because it was throwing glass for a long time and then stopped for just a little bit and then throwing glass a long time. Like, he didn't really have a chance to get him out, but I also don't think that it would have killed him then. And then also, let's say he won the trap and he gets over there in time and he's not dead yet and he gets that chain off. That chain was just wrapped around his waist. His hands were still bound up top. Like, if that chain is all that was holding him up, then the body should have fallen after he unlocked the lock. But how the fuck was he actually supposed to escape this trap? So maybe I'm just confused on this trap in general, but I didn't like it.
It wasn't a very good trap in general.
It wasn't a very good trap in general, but to me, it's still not as bad as Garcia's trap, because again, I just don't, how the fuck is the machine just going to stop once? Oh, hey, her spinal cord, it's severed. Let's stop, guys. Fuck out of here. So I'm just ready to go home at this point, to be honest.
Honestly, I felt like they made Pete's trap unwinnable just because Pete was the guy who killed his dad, so he just wanted to kill him. But I agree. Definitely wasn't
That's fair.
enough time for Zeke to save him. But here's the ending. A door opens and Zeke pulls out a giant piece of glass out of his arm. He walks up these spiraling stairs and enters a room and finds Shink. You disloyal piece of shit. He says he's been loyal to him for 15 years since his partner killed my father. Shink saw his father get killed by Pete from a closet. Zeke whispered to the kid to keep quiet. Shink has been using a false name and living a lie. He has no son. Shink tattooed Charlie on Benny Wright's arm before he skinned him. Zeke asked, "Where's his father?" It's revealed Shink sent Banks a text from Zeke's phone telling him where to go. "Where is he?" he asked again. Shink asked to be partners. He stood up to dirty cops. Shink calls out all these evil cops and calls Zeke different. He's Metro's finest. You find the dirty ones, and I'll take care of the rest. John Kramer was right. The spiral, a symbol of change, evolution, progress. These cops won't clean up on their own. We're going to fix the department. Zeke says he's in, but my dad goes free. Shink calls 911, saying where he's at, and says there's a crazy guy with a gun shooting the gun. He tells Zeke SWAT's on the way, and he wants to trust him. Let's go see your dad. Time for your final test. We go into a room where Marcus is being held up by wires, dripping blood in all these mason jars. Don't worry, I won't let you die, he tells his dad. Banks tells him to shoot him. Shink says, you're going to kill me with your one bullet? In 3 minutes, your dad will be dead from bleeding out. One bullet, you shoot me, your dad dies. Or you shoot the target, and we both win. I'm dying, Zeke. End it now. The SWAT team raids the building. Shink says, you failed that test trying to help Dunleavy. Shink now tells the chief to tell Zeke of all the corruption under Article 8. Citizens were dying. We did what we had to do to clean up the streets. The streets got cleaner because cops got dirtier. Shink tells Zeke that Angie was his partner the entire time. Marcus says, you've always done the right thing. Do it now. This piece of shit is killing cops. Hello Zep plays now, and Shink says, you can shoot me or you can save your dad. Clock's ticking. Zeke shoots the target and Banks falls to the floor. Shink tries to escape and Zeke tackles him and they fight. Banks tries to yell to the SWAT team to not come in. The SWAT team saws through a tripwire and it pulls Marcus up and it pulls Banks' arm up like he's pulling a gun, and the SWAT team opens fire on him. Zeke screams as Shink gets away in the elevator and whispers to him to be quiet. End credits roll as the film ends. All right, Brian, what did you think about the ending?
Short and sweet. I mean, I do love the ending. Like the idea of the ending anyway. The execution I wasn't a huge fan of though. I mean, they screwed up a little bit and it could have been better, I guess. I mean, I don't buy that the SWAT team was that close, especially when they walk in and it's not like backlit like that yet and blinding them, and they appear to be like 5 feet away from Samuel Jackson. Marcus, is it? But before Chris Rock says something and they turn. So I don't know. Like I liked it, but like I said, the execution of it could have definitely been better for me. Now I did love Shank giving him the shh as he went down the elevator, and that was the ending like shot. Loved it. That was fucking brilliant to me. Like that sold it for me. So, like I said, short and sweet, but that's all I had. It was good. I liked it.
Yeah, I like the ending. I think even though it was predictable with Shink, I still think they pulled it off. I like his motives. I think it works. The stuff with Samuel Jackson's quote unquote trap. That being kind of the last hurdle. I really like that tie-in. Like obviously you can see it coming a mile away, but you also you kind of want to know where Zeke's loyalties lie. He's really known this whole movie for turning in a corrupt cop. And then when he has the chance to kind of, say to his dad, he doesn't, because that's where his loyalty lies. And I think that's what the movie is all about. So at the end of the day, you kind of have to pick, which side you land on. And I think it was a really good way to kind of tie it all together. I like that Zeke has that moment where he's like, so you want me to kill cops? And Shink goes, no, just the bad ones. And, Zeke kind of agrees to it, but obviously I think that was probably not where it was actually going to end up. But I love the test of loyalty. I think Samuel Jackson is great in this scene as far as someone who's struggling and bleeding and all that stuff. Like I think his acting is really, really good here. And I think this is some of the strongest stuff that Chris Rock does in this movie too. The way he kind of fights for it, and the very, very end with the that Brian mentioned on, or that Brian touched on, I thought was really good as well. So all in all, I think they nailed the landing for the most part. I think because it was a little predictable, I can understand it falling a little flat, but it didn't bother me because I kind of predicted it, 4 sets of scenes ago, as we talked about already. So I just kind of wanted to see how they tied it all in, and I thought they did a pretty good job.
Yeah, no, we're gonna differ here. I didn't like the ending. I don't like that it ended up being Shink because, like I said, Mike, you said it too. Like we pretty much had already settled on, no pun intended, settle on that it was Shink, and it's just not a good enough twist for me. To me, all the Saw movies have twists, or this big revelation is part of what makes them special, and it didn't work for me. Now they showed the flashback, and we find out that it was his dad is the one that was shot and killed by Dunleavy. Why the fuck did Chris Rock Zeke shush him like that? Like they made it look like it just looked creepy as hell. It's like he was shushing the kid, like, don't you say a word or I'll fucking kill you too. Like that's the kind of vibe that I got from that.
Yeah.
The slow motion shushing that they showed there. I didn't like that. What the fuck kind of police department just allows someone to breach them like this? Like their security just all around sucks, Brian. Like he used a fake name to get a job with the police department. What? And then, he just so happened to be made Zeke's partner. Nah, like that's a little bit too things falling into place to like in a way that just isn't believable for me. Then this whole premise that we get in this final set of scenes is stupid to me. He's trying to recruit him. Like, what's the two possible outcomes here? He's going to say no, which is what they expected because he's a good cop and he doesn't stand for this. And so, boom, you've got to kill him or he knows who you are. Or the flip side is he says, yes, he's going to join you, but you're going to tell me then you wouldn't be afraid that Zeke would snitch on you? Like this man is known for snitching on bad cops. And so like that wasn't a plausible little subplot they added there because either scenario doesn't work out. So you're telling me that while all this is going down, he's only got one bullet, which by the way, I do think it's funny that the opening set of scenes took place in a fairground. And the trick to saving his dad in the final trap is a like county fair type game where you got to shoot the target to almost like a Dunkin' booth type thing. So I thought that was funny. But you're telling me during all this going down, he wouldn't just go over to the window and yell, "Hey, Shink is the kid, like Shink is the one doing all this shit." He wouldn't yell and let them know when they're coming up the stairs. Maybe I'm wrong there, but so to me, it just like you shoot the target. It's not a hard thing. It's not a hard decision to make, in my opinion. You shoot the target to free your dad so you have a witness, and then you wait for them to get inside to arrest Shink. But instead, he struggles with it, and then he shoots the target, and then he goes and fights Shink, and it's not really believable to me. Marcus Trap was cool, though. I did like the way that he was strung up, and then the fact that he was going to be suspended and look like the pig puppet that we saw earlier. But how did he know that they were going to use a fucking skill saw to enter the room? Like, there's all kinds of ways they could have broke in. Like, is it standard issue for cops to just go to Home Depot to break into crime scenes? And then you're telling me the cops wouldn't recognize. I get it as SWAT team, so maybe it's a different department. But if he's a former captain in this city, I feel like everybody would realize, hey, I know him. And then they start yelling at Marcus, put his hands on, put your hands up, get down, blah, blah. They wouldn't recognize him either. Like, these are two very prominent cops in the city. That was stupid to me. And then they just let Shink get away. Like, they didn't see him in that elevator. It was not like the elevator was an offshoot and the cop, like, while he's in the elevator, we see a cop's pants or leg. He's standing right there. He didn't even look in there and say, "Hey, what's this guy doing? Get over here. You're a cop. Come help us close this case, son." Nope, they just let him fucking go. But I did like the shush that he gave Zeke as he's going down, because it's a nice callback to what he saw as a kid. Okay, that's fine, but it should have never got to that point. I didn't like this ending at all. Bad. Whether it's a Saw movie or not. So if I'm detaching myself and I'm enjoying this movie for what it was up to this point, I still wouldn't like this ending because too many things just didn't make sense to me.
Alrighty, guys. Any more final thoughts before we just jump into social media comments and questions? All right, let's do Facebook first. Big fan of the show. Michelle Mirza commented, I saw this one in theaters last year, and I really enjoyed it. That's cool. I think a lot of people enjoyed it, honestly. All right, let's jump over to Twitter. Speaking of enjoying it, Sean Irwin, I don't know if this is good for your opinion or not, Michelle, but Sean Irwin said, I actually really enjoyed this movie, but I can definitely understand why others
Never
don't.
mind. Never mind.
Changing my score now. Great. So I know I'm wrong.
Yeah, me too. Fuck, I'm wrong. I'm way wrong. God.
All right, Sean commented.
Love you, Sean. Love you, Sean.
Love you, brother. I actually really enjoy this movie, but I can definitely understand why others don't. Would you like to see more of this storyline or the Jigsaw storyline? Jigsaw.
I'll take the Jigsaw storyline too, but I wouldn't mind another movie in this universe.
As long as Chris Rock don't write dialogue, I'm here for it.
I loved it. I liked it. I mean, I don't want to see another Jigsaw movie. Just like Dustin said, what do you do? Because I mean, you're just gonna we're gonna shoehorn another. I was here from the beginning, Jigsaw guy.
I actually don't want to see another one either because it's not going to be good. I honestly agree.
Everything has to end at some point, guys. Eventually, we have to stop at some point.
Yeah, Halloween ends.
Trust me. I hope it's good, and I hope it's done. I know neither one of those things would probably be true.
All right, new teammate on the pod, Kevin Scanlon commented, I wasn't a fan of this one. Didn't really feel like a Saw movie to me. I've only seen it once, but it really wasn't memorable for me. I feel like a lot of people would agree with you too, brother. Let's jump over to Instagram. We got a couple comments. Chris_2020 commented, was really excited about Darren Lynn Bousman coming back after his Saw films. But other than the interesting plot or infesting plot, I don't know which one he meant, most of the traps felt underwhelming, and I saw the twist coming a mile away. And our last comment is from big fan of the show, Queen is Elizabeth 717. Beside the first two Saw movies, I'm not a big fan of the Saw franchise. This chapter of Saw I really enjoyed, though. Yes, we all know who was behind it in this film, but I like this version. It seemed like an elevated Criminal Minds episode. Good film. Okay.
See, that makes sense. Like, if you don't like Saw, then I could see why you'd like this one. Yeah. So it completely makes sense. Nico and I hold the Saw franchise in too high of a regard for us to like this shit.
And at least they respected you guys and didn't call it Saw 7. Like, they said, all right, something completely different. I mean, they said, hey, this isn't the same thing from the beginning, from the title.
Yeah, it's Spiral from the Book of Mormon.
Alrighty, you guys. Let's go ahead and jump over to fun facts. I don't have any. Brian, you got any? Mike, Dustin?
I have two. According to Bozeman, a trap consisting of someone getting their face cut off had to be cut from the film in order for it to receive an R rating from the MPAA. So once again, fuck you, MPAA. And secondly, Chris Rock is a second actor to write and star in a Saw film. The first, obviously, is Lee Winnell.
Yeah. I got three here. So this was the first film in the franchise that wasn't released in October. Is released on May 14th, my mom's birthday. So that just further proves it's not a real Saw movie. It took 11 submissions to the MPAA to secure an R rating. 11. So this movie's fucking brutal. I will give them that. The traps are brutal. The gore is great or disgusting, however you feel about it. But 11 submissions, that's nuts. And then last one I have, Chris Rock stated that the two films that were inspiration for this film were 7 and 48 hours. And you can definitely tell that the inspiration was something other than a Saw movie. And then when you hear those and you've seen those movies, if you've seen 7, you've seen 48 hours, it feels like that. It feels like those two movies fucked and had a baby, and then we get Spiral from the Book of Saw.
Yeah. Okay. So the budget for this movie was $20 million. God damn it. The budget for this movie was $20 million. The box office was only $40.6 million. I think a lot of that had to do with the fact that theaters were just opening back up. I think the same day this came out, the national mask mandate was lifted, if I'm not mistaken. Like, I'm pretty sure it's the exact. I saw this on the exact same day. I didn't have to wear a mask anymore into the theater. So, I mean, I think this was the time people were slowly getting back to going out and doing things. Remember, this was April 2021, so it really wasn't too far off from 2020 when the movie came out. So I think that had a lot to do with the box office, but it was enough to at least pique the interest of a sequel. No news on that if it's being made. I would probably say no.
Please, God.
Oh, God damn it.
All right, let's jump into our favorite kill, least favorite kill, and the rating. Does anybody want to go first, or y'all want me to just kick it off?
Well, how about you and I go first and second? That way, we'll leave listeners with
No.
positive notes on their mouth.
No. Let's stagger these bitches. Let's stagger these.
I'll go
All right.
second.
Stagger these. There
All
you
right,
go.
Brian will go second. All right, my favorite kill, even though I thought the trap was ridiculous how it was set up, I went with Garza and the hot wax. That shit would suck.
Man, what is it with you and Wax so much? Damn, son.
Well,
See, you said he would hate it. Now he loved the trap.
yeah, I just
I
thought
see.
it
There
was, I
you
just
go.
thought it was unbelievable to think it was going to get set up. But least favorite kill, I chose Boswick because I thought it was one of the easiest traps to survive. Just jump off the damn ladder, man. All right, rating, and I just wrote a little paragraph, so just bear with me. So this is a tough movie for me to put a numerical rating to. Some things I like were the traps were better than movies like 3D. My man Darren Lynn Bousman coming back was nice. It was nice to see some big name actors like Rock and Jackson in it, and I appreciate Rock's fanship of the franchise. However, as a Saw related movie, I'm not a huge fan. It's definitely towards the bottom for me, between it and Jigsaw. My biggest complaint is the dialogue, which I think is awful. John Kramer didn't target cops. Have you watched any of these movies, Mr. Rock? The traps are quite hard to believe this cop set up inside a precinct or setting all this stuff up on properties he didn't own. And I hate to be that guy, but no, John Kramer is just tough, and I hate the pig voice chosen. I appreciate Rock's attempt, but not a fan. More rewatchable than a lot of other stuff we've done, so I'll give it a 5.5, a 0.5 higher than IMDb.
Oh, okay. So go ahead and spoil what IMDb gave it. Okay. Well, jeez. Wow. Well, mine's going to be super short and sweet. Least favorite kill, House of Wax. And my favorite kill was actually Chinese finger trap. So anyway, I already said all my feelings way too much on this one. I gave Saw 6, I believe, a 7. I can't see, like I said, I love the Saw franchise. I love its continuity. I just cannot. I haven't watched them enough over and over and over again to be like, all right, well, this is better than this one with Hoffman, and because they all kind of run together at certain points. But I'm going to give this one.
We literally had a ranking episode.
Yeah, but I don't remember that either. I got CTE, remember?
Yeah.
You're taking a page.
Oh, wait a
I was about to say,
second.
that's
Oh,
my
wait a
thing,
Say,
man.
yeah, I'm taking a
Wait,
page out of that
CTE
too.
contagious?
I got CTE.
Is CTE contagious?
Yeah.
Anyway.
What the fuck?
Hung out with you all wedding week, and all of a sudden I can't remember shit.
Fuck.
Anyway, I'm going to just give this one a 7. I liked it. I thought it was good. I think 7's good for it.
Okay. So I'll go ahead and go. As far as my favorite kill, I went with Boz. I know it's the first one we get, but God, man, it was just brutal and it stuck with me. Like, it's got great gore. It's nasty. You see the blood squirting out of his mouth. It's practical. He had a legit shot of escaping. Now, it would suck to live without a tongue, but literally all he had to do was step off that little step stool and he's free. So I thought they set the bar extremely well with that kill. My least favorite kill was Angie Garcia. This was Bousman's favorite trap. I get it, but it just didn't make sense to me. Like I said, I don't understand how it would just stop once the spinal cord is severed. Like, there's no one there to verify, oh, it's severed, stop it. So I didn't like it. Now, the wax part of it was cool. I just wish there was I wish the escape trigger would have been something different than that. But for that reason, I gotta say it's my least favorite. So as far as my general thoughts, it's no coincidence how shit spirals in a toilet as it's going down, such as this movie, Spiral. I don't like it. It doesn't work for me as a Saw movie. I would like it more if it wasn't, like I said, if you take out the things that make it a Saw movie. No reference to John Kramer, no spirals everywhere, no videos and pig mask and all that, and just do it like it is. I would like it probably 1.5 to 2 points more than I do. The ending, if the ending was better, then that would probably add another point. So at that point, we're looking at like a 7. But as it is, I gave it a 4.
Whew, tough. Okay. So my favorite kill is the same as you, Dustin. Boz. I think that trap is brutal. It's a very memorable kill to me. I think it becomes one of the more memorable kills of the franchise, at least to me. My least favorite trap is Pete. I don't have any love for the flying glass shards. Like that didn't do a whole lot for me as far as just being creative and interesting. I don't know. It was just kind of boring to me. Okay, my general thoughts are everything I've already said. I understand it if you're a big Saw fan, and I consider myself one as well. But I guess when I'm just in the mood for something different, but it still gives me that same Saw feeling, this movie accomplishes that. It's a little bit of a different kind of story. I like the comedic elements. I think sometimes we take movies too seriously. Not that that's a bad thing, but I think sometimes I just need that little bit of a let up. And I think this movie, the jokes landed with me more than they did with you guys. I like Chris Rock and Samuel L. Jackson. I think the cast, for the most part, is pretty good all the way around. And I like the way this movie's shot. It has just enough old Saw stuff and just enough new Saw stuff. So all that being said, I gave this movie a flat 7. Couldn't go in. I don't think I went higher than Saw 6. It's been a long time since we reviewed that movie, but I can't go any higher than Saw 6 because that's my second favorite in the franchise.
So that gives us a composite score of 5.875. IMDb has it as a 5.2.
Close
so
enough.
We're pretty close there.
Yeah.
About a half a point off. So I can respect that. Now, Mike, I do want to say, I want to clear my name real quick. I'm not saying I don't like horror comedies. You're listening to a guy who this weekend alone, I've watched Warm Bodies, Dark Shadow, and Little Shop of Horrors, and I enjoyed them all.
Yeah.
But it's just for a Saw movie is what I mean.
I understand. Totally get it. I don't like bad comedy and Halloween movies, so I understand. Like peanut butter on my penis was offensive to me, so I get it.
What? It was? You never said that before. That shocks me.
Fuck you, Brian.
Or the fucking clown noises from Halloween 5. That movie the worst
see, that movie's the piece of dog shit, man. God.
Can't wait till Brian picks it this October. Anywho,
Brian, you pick it, buddy. I'm gonna take a scoop of dry pre-workout before we record. It's on.
You're not,
all right, guys.
I mean, you're not bashing a movie I like or anything.
That's fair.
All right, any final thoughts on Spiral before I give a shout out to our blood donors, and I'll announce my pick and another bonus pick we had this week.
Let's go.
No, I'm good.
All right, just big shout out to our blood donors. Really appreciate y'all. Times are tough, and y'all choose to help us out anyways financially. Really appreciate it. Our camper level reoccurring are Clayton J, Nina, Michelle Mirza, Andrew Ferguson, Carrie Adams, the Horror Movie Crew Podcast, Alex Seligson, Eric Doolittle, Sean Irwin, and our newest camper level blood donor is Adrian Aiello. Appreciate you. Appreciate all of you. Camp counselor reoccurring, Hunter Nelson, Dennis Kennedy, Edwin Hernandez Gunn, Joe Swinford, Jennifer Davis, Karen, Heather Smith, and Kylie Denise, all the way from Australia. Appreciate that. Legendary blood donors we have film reviews to do are Kevin Scanlon and Michael Azelson. And our final guide donors are Christian Cunningham and Matt Sears. Really appreciate y'all. Truly means a lot to us that you help us out financially. I'll go ahead and announce our next pick for this week coming up. We're finally going to be able to review a teammate of the podcast on staff with us. Kevin Scanlon, he chose As Above, So Below. We're going to be reviewing that later this week. So definitely be ready. We've had several fans like message Facebook, Twitter, Instagram asking about that movie. So I'm excited he picked that one because I know the fans want to hear our review on that one. And my pick for next week in 31 month is going to be Annabelle, the first one. I'm excited to review that one as well. Any final thoughts, guys,
I'm excited
before we get out of here?
Hey,
I'm excited. I'm excited to do As Above, So Below because I'm glad Ben Feldman finally got to be in a found footage movie that didn't suck.
I am excited to review that one. Nico, buddy, Creation was right. Creation was right there, man. You could have picked Annabelle Creation. Oh,
well,
I know why you did it. I know why you did it.
Yeah,
Dustin, you're such an asshole.
I like Creation the best, but
I'm sorry, buddy. I love you. I couldn't resist.
No, Nico, I know exactly what you mean. You kind of pulled one out of my playbook there, where sometimes you just got to pick the big movie, and whether it's bad or good. I get it.
Yeah, but appreciate all the fans, listeners. We really appreciate y'all. One thing I ask for a favor: go give us a 5-star rating on Apple Podcast and Spotify. It really helps us out, helps us grow, reach new people. Thanking my co-host. This has been a really busy time for us, and we're grinding out these episodes. Appreciate y'all, and y'all have a good one. Just want to remind everybody.